So LaMelo Ball has been amazing, especially in his last 7 games. 22 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. Great efficiency across the board. The threes have been awesome. I think his inside game has been better. We'll talk about that as well. And in the last video, I think I said something like, I don't want LaMelo doing everything. I meant that in the sense of James Harden doing everything for the Rockets. You know, I think the Hornets have had a pretty good balance of LaMelo doing his thing, but everybody else still having ball handling opportunities. He's been starting a bit lately because the Hornets have had injuries, whether it's Rozier or to Graham. But even when all 3 of them are healthy, LaMelo's got to be starting, and I don't know whose feelings have to get hurt, but that's just how it's got to be. Unless you think you can start all of them together, which they actually did against the Jazz, but Devontae only played 10 minutes in that game. And I want to acknowledge, of course, LaMelo as a passer. He's fantastic. As a rebounder, he's great. Defensively, he is way better than some of his critics would have said he was going to be coming into the season. That said, pretty much only going to talk about the scoring in this video. Anyway, if we talk about the three-pointers, of course, the big one against Houston, that's the one to talk about the most. But even before that, he was having a lot of good three-point shooting games. And, I mean, you can look at his threes against the Rockets, and all of the other games are just different versions of the Rockets three-pointers, I guess, where one of them was a corner three where Gordon Hayward just threw it to him. Simple catch and shoot, but that's good. There was one pull-up where LaMelo got a screen from Bridges, who's been playing a lot of like power forward center, and I think it's unlocked his game a bit more. LaMelo has helped him, of course, too. And the defenders went under him, so LaMelo just pulled up without even really thinking about it. There was a similar one to that where he got a pass in transition from, I think it was Rozier, and there was a defender in front of him, and LaMelo just hoisted it up anyway. And you can find these types of shots for him all over his last 6-7 games or so. There was a 3 against the Jazz where Donovan Mitchell was in his face, and he just shot it anyway. So that's great. And I think one cool thing with LaMelo, when you look at some of these threes, his relocating is very good, where sometimes he'll be in like the dunker spot, and he recognizes that he's not really doing anything right there. He just backs up into the corner. And I know that sounds really basic, but some players never figure out that sort of thing, or if they do, they don't figure it out when they're a rookie. Now, all that said, of course, LaMelo is not going to keep shooting 50% or even over 50% sometimes from 3, but I think if you were going to be a cynic of his shooting, there's a decent chance you've already been proven wrong. Now, you could also say, well, some of the threes he's attempting are the same threes he was attempting that made people sweat a little bit, you know, taking threes with the guy in his face or whatever. But it's going in right now, and I think LaMelo has shown that he can make open threes, so, yeah. Now, if I can talk about LaMelo's inside game. So, to give you some stats, for the season, LaMelo's averaging 4.5 shots in the restricted area a game. But in his last 7, he's actually up to 7 shots a game in the restricted area. Some of that is more minutes, I know. But I do think there's more of an effort on his part to take the extra dribble or whatever and get inside. I also think the Hornets have helped him out a little bit. They've started doing this Zeller-LaMelo elbow pick and roll thing rather than just the top of the key. And I do think it freaks big guys out a little bit. LaMelo and Zeller have also had a bit of a give-and-go game where LaMelo just throws it to him real quick and then he just gets ahead of steam and then Zeller just gives it right back to him. They did that a couple times against the Jazz. Now, speaking of that game, LaMelo also did still chuck a couple of really deep floaters. I don't think that part of his game is ever going to be gone, but as long as he's not shooting like 6 of those a game and he's more so taking like 2 or 3 and the rest of them are more layups and stuff, then I think he'll be all right. I mentioned earlier that the Hornets have run Bridges at center or power forward a bit. I don't know which one he technically would be, but they've been going with some no-center lineups, and I think that has also really opened up the floor for LaMelo. You can see that in some of his baskets against the Sixers. There was one play in particular where he just beat Shake Milton in kind of a straight line drive dribble early in the possession. There was no big guy in his way or anything. But even when there were bigs out there for Philly, like when it was Embiid or it was Dwight, LaMelo, at least in some of his makes, he still wasn't that scared. I mean, there was one play where Biyombo was just in the dunker spot and the Sixers collapsed on LaMelo pretty hard, but he had Korkmaz reeling a little bit at the top of the key, so he just said, I'm just going to keep going. And I feel like in the beginning of the year, Lamelo would have then looked to either pass that or he would have chucked up a floater. But on these plays, he just keeps going all the way to the rim. I think he's finally realizing that just because a big guy is in the area doesn't mean he still can't get his shot off around the rim. I mean, he even had a play against the Pacers that was kind of a post-up where he just sort of out-muscled Aaron Holiday for a bucket. The ball ended up in his hands around the dunker spot. It was kind of an awkward play, but Lamelo didn't flail up some awkward shot. He was just kind of stayed composed for a second. He's like, I'm bigger than this guy. Let me just sort of elbow him out of the way. There was another play against the Pacers that was really good too, where he was open in the corner and, Hayward got it to him, and he could have just chucked the three, but instead Lamelo, he pump faked and he got TJ McConnell in the air. And he just attacks with like 2 or 3 Pacers just right around the rim, and he just finishes over Sabonis. And again, I don't know if Game 6 Lamelo would have done that sort of thing. So basically, the thing that I was most scared of with Lamelo, he seems to be on the path to fixing, and it's not even halfway into the season. And I think another stat to look at here is his free throw attempts. Now, they haven't been through the roof, but he had 9 against the Bucks. He had 6 against the Heat. And, I mean, there's always a chance it's a couple ticky-tack fouls. I get it. But even games like, the Sixers, the Jazz, like he shoots 3 free throws apiece in those games. That was pretty good. I mean, he had a decent chunk of games early in his career. I say early. We're still early in his career. But, he would have 1 free throw attempt or 0 free throw attempts. And he's creeping up there. He's going in the right direction with the free throw attempts. Now, I'm not saying it's completely gone. I mean, you can go look at his misses against the Wizards, and there was a reverse layup where he probably could have got a foul if he just went straight up with it. There was another layup where he tried to get a little too cute. He did like a double clutch MJ versus Blazers-esque thing. So, again, there's a chance that's always going to kind of be there for him, but he's already beginning to move away from that stuff a little bit. So that's the Lamelo spiel. I think that's the 3rd video I've done on him this season. I think he is the Rookie of the Year. Halliburton, to me, is the 2nd best rookie, regardless of what the point totals or whatever are going to say. But, for as good of a defender as Halliburton is and for how efficient he is and all that, I think at a certain point you just have to notice that if a guy's going off for enough points and doing it efficiently as LaMelo is, and the all-around game is still very strong with LaMelo, I didn't talk about his passing at all in this video, then I just think he's deserving of it. I think LaMelo's the Rookie of the Year right now. In fact, I could see LaMelo making it kind of a distant first as the year goes, because I don't think Halliburton's ever going to get the shot attempts, really. And Anthony Edwards, I just think Edwards this season is just going to be up and down. I know he's had a run lately, but I'm expecting Edwards to bust out like a 4 for 19 game soon. That just seems to be how he is right now, which is fine. That's normal rookie stuff. Wiseman is hurt, and even then, I don't think Wiseman's going to get the opportunity like LaMelo, similar to Emmanuel Quickly. I think LaMelo's Rookie of the Year. I think it's probably not even going to be that much of a question as the year goes on, to be honest.